What if I told you that most people will never be rich, not because they don't earn enough money, but because they have a completely broken relationship with money itself? Here's a shocking fact. The average American spends more time choosing what to watch on Netflix than planning their entire financial future. Today, we're diving deep into Ramit Sethi's game-changing book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And no, this isn't another get-rich-quick scheme. This is about understanding the psychology behind why you feel guilty every time you spend money on something you enjoy. It's about why you probably have money sitting in a savings account earning almost nothing while inflation eats away at your purchasing power. And most importantly, it's about creating a system that works so well, you'll barely have to think about money ever again. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why most people fail with money and how you can be different. We'll cover everything from crushing debt to building wealth through simple investing, and I'll show you how to create what Sethi calls your rich life, whatever that means to you. Let's start with something that might hit close to home. Why do you feel guilty about spending money? Picture this. You're at a coffee shop, about to buy a $5 latte, and suddenly you hear this voice in your head saying, "You shouldn't be wasting money on this." Meanwhile, you're probably paying for 3 streaming services you barely use, but somehow the latte feels like the real problem. This is what Sethi calls the latte factor myth, the idea that small purchases are ruining your financial future. The truth is, most people focus on the wrong things when it comes to money. They'll spend hours clipping coupons to save $2, but never negotiate their salary or switch to a better bank account. They feel guilty about buying something they genuinely enjoy, but they're perfectly fine paying hundreds of dollars in unnecessary fees to banks and credit card companies. This guilt comes from a deeper issue. Most of us were never taught how money actually works. We learn that money is scarce, that spending is bad, and that being rich is somehow morally questionable. But here's what Sethi teaches. Money is a tool, and like any tool, it's about how you use it. The goal isn't to hoard money or feel guilty about every purchase. The goal is to spend intentionally on the things you love while cutting costs on the things you don't care about. This brings us to the psychology of spending with intention. Most people spend money in one of 2 ways. Either they're completely restrictive and feel guilty about everything, or they spend impulsively and then panic about their financial future. Neither approach works long term. Intentional spending means you decide in advance what matters to you, and then you spend generously on those things while cutting ruthlessly on everything else. For example, maybe you absolutely love traveling. With intentional spending, you might decide to spend significantly on travel experiences, but you'll cut costs on things like expensive cars or designer clothes that don't matter to you. Or maybe you're a foodie who loves dining out. You might allocate a generous portion of your income to restaurants and cooking, while spending very little on entertainment or gadgets. The key is that these decisions are made consciously, not by accident. Now let's talk about something that will change your financial life forever: automating your financial system. Here's the thing about willpower. It's limited, and it's unreliable. If your financial success depends on you making the right choice every single day, you're going to fail. The solution is to set up a system that works automatically so you never have to think about money ever again. Here's how Sethi's automation system works. First, you set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings and investment accounts. This happens immediately after you get paid, before you have a chance to spend the money. Second, you automate all your bill payments. Your rent, utilities, insurance, and minimum debt payments all happen automatically. Third, you automate your investments. Money flows automatically into your retirement accounts and investment accounts every month. When this system is set up correctly, you'll never have to wonder if you're saving enough or investing enough. It just happens automatically. The money that's left in your checking account after all the automation, that's your guilt-free spending money. You can spend it on whatever you want without worrying about your financial future, because you've already taken care of that automatically. Let's talk about debt, because if you have high-interest debt, That needs to be your first priority. Sethi recommends the debt avalanche method, and here's exactly how it works. First, make a list of all your debts with their interest rates. Let's say you have a credit card with a 22% interest rate, a car loan at 6%, and student loans at 4%. With the avalanche method, you pay the minimum on all debts, but you put any extra money toward the debt with the highest interest rate. In this case, that would be the credit card. Why does this work better than the debt snowball method, where you pay off the smallest balances first? Simple math. If you have $1,000 of extra money to put toward debt, paying off a 22% interest rate debt saves you more money than paying off a 4% interest rate debt. The debt snowball method might feel better psychologically, but the avalanche method saves you more money. And here's a crucial point. While you're paying off debt, you should still be contributing enough to your 401k to get any company match. If your company matches 50% of your contributions up to 6% of your salary, that's an immediate 50% return on your money. That beats paying off even high-interest debt. Now, once you've handled your debt, it's time to start building wealth through investing. If you're a beginner, this might seem complicated, but Sethi makes it incredibly simple. Here's the basic hierarchy of where your money should go. First, contribute to your 401k up to your company match. That's free money. Second, max out a Roth IRA. For 2024, that's $6,500 per year, or about $540 per month. Third, go back to your 401k and contribute more if you can. Now, what should you actually invest in? For most people, the answer is simple: low-cost index funds. An index fund is like buying a tiny piece of hundreds or thousands of companies all at once. Instead of trying to pick individual winning stocks, you're betting on the entire market. Historically, the US stock market has returned about 10% per year on average. Some years it's up 30%, some years it's down 20%, but over long periods, it averages out to solid returns. Sethi specifically recommends total stock market index funds with low fees. Look for funds with expense ratios under 0.2%. For example, Vanguard's Total Stock Market Index Fund has an expense ratio of just 0.03%. That means for every $10,000 you invest, you pay $3 per year in fees. Compare that to actively managed funds that might charge 1.5% or more. That's $150 a year on the same $10,000 investment. Those fees might seem small, but over decades, they add up to tens of thousands of dollars. Let's talk about the conscious spending plan, which is Sethi's approach to budgeting. Most budgets fail because they're too restrictive and complicated. The conscious spending plan is different. It's about spending on what you love and cutting costs on what you don't. Here's how to set it up. Start with your after-tax income. That's what actually hits your bank account. From there, allocate your money into 4 categories. Fixed costs should be 50 to 60% of your income. This includes rent, utilities, insurance, and minimum debt payments. Savings should be 5 to 10%. This is your emergency fund and savings for specific goals like a house down payment. Investments should be 10 to 20%. This is money going into your retirement accounts and other long-term investments. Guilt-free spending is 20 to 35%. This is everything else: restaurants, entertainment, hobbies, shopping, travel. The key insight here is that last category, guilt-free spending. Most budgets make you feel bad about every purchase that isn't absolutely necessary. The conscious spending plan says the opposite. If you're hitting your savings and investment goals, then spend the rest on whatever makes you happy. Want to spend $300 on a fancy dinner? Go for it, as long as it fits in your guilt-free spending category. Want to buy an expensive gadget? No problem, as long as the numbers work. This approach is sustainable because it doesn't require you to live like a monk. Now let's talk about something that will blow your mind: the power of compound growth and why starting early matters so much. Compound growth means you earn returns not just on your original investment, but on all the previous returns as well. Let me show you with a concrete example. Let's say you invest $5,000 per year starting at age 25. You do this for 10 years, then stop completely. By age 65, assuming a 7% annual return, you'll have about $860,000. Now, let's say your friend waits until age 35 to start investing. They invest $5,000 per year for 30 years straight, 3 times longer than you did. By age 65, they'll have about $470,000. You invested $50,000 total, they invested $150,000 total, but you end up with almost twice as much money. That's the power of starting early and letting compound growth work its magic. Even if you can only invest $50 per month when you're young, start anyway. You can always increase the amount later, but you can never get back those early years of compound growth. Here's another example that really drives this home. If you invest just $100 per month starting at age 22, you'll have more money at retirement than someone who invests $300 per month starting at age 40. Time is more powerful than the amount when it comes to investing. Let's address something that scares a lot of people: credit cards. Most personal finance advice tells you to cut up your credit cards and never use them again. Sethi disagrees, and here's why. Used correctly, credit cards are actually better than cash or debit cards. They offer better fraud protection, they help you build credit, and many offer rewards like cashback or travel points. The key is using them correctly. Here are the rules for smart credit card use. First, never spend more than you can afford to pay off completely each month. If you can't pay the full balance, you shouldn't be using a credit card. Second, set up automatic payments to pay the full balance every month. Never just pay the minimum. That's a trap that will cost you thousands in interest. Third, choose cards with good rewards and no annual fee, at least when you're starting out. Fourth, keep your credit utilization low. This means if you have a $5,000 credit limit, try to keep your balance below $1,500 even if you pay it off every month. Fifth, never close old credit cards unless they have an annual fee you can't justify. The length of your credit history matters for your credit score. When you use credit cards this way, they become a tool that actually improves your financial life instead of destroying it. Now let's talk about something really important: defining your own rich life. Most people have a vague idea that they want to be rich, but they've never actually defined what that means for them personally. Sethi argues that being rich isn't about having a specific number in your bank account. It's about being able to do what you want, when you want, without worrying about money. For some people, a rich life might mean being able to travel the world. For others, it might mean being able to give generously to causes they care about. For others, it might mean being able to work part-time so they can spend more time with their family. The point is, your rich life is going to be different from everyone else's. Here's an exercise to help you define your rich life. Think about a perfect week in your ideal future. Where do you live? What do you do during the day? Who do you spend time with? What do you spend money on? Be specific. Instead of saying, "I want to travel," say, "I want to take a 2-week trip to Europe every year and stay in nice hotels." Instead of saying, "I want a nice house," say, "I want a 4-bedroom house with a big kitchen in a neighborhood with good schools." Once you have this vision, you can work backwards to figure out what it would actually cost. That European trip might cost $8,000 per year. That house might require a specific income level and down payment. Now you have concrete numbers to work toward, instead of just a vague desire to be rich. This brings us to one of Sethi's most practical concepts, the 85% solution. Most people never start investing or improving their finances because they're waiting for the perfect plan. They spend months researching the absolute best investment options, or they want to understand every detail before they begin. This is a mistake. The 85% solution says that a good plan you actually implement is better than a perfect plan you never start. For example, maybe the absolute optimal investment strategy involves complex tax planning and multiple account types. But if that complexity means you never start investing, you're worse off than someone who just puts money in a simple target date fund in their 401k. Maybe the perfect budget involves tracking every penny you spend. But if that level of detail is so overwhelming that you give up after a week,
you're worse off than someone who just follows the basic conscious spending plan percentages. The key is to start with something simple and improve it over time. Get your automatic transfer set up, even if the amounts aren't perfect yet. Start investing in index funds, even if you're not sure you've chosen the absolute best ones. Set up your conscious spending plan, even if your category percentages need adjustment. You can always optimize later, but you can't optimize something that doesn't exist. This connects to another crucial principle: how to start small and still win. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they need to start with big changes. They want to immediately max out their retirement accounts, or they want to start investing thousands of dollars per month. When they realize they can't do that, they don't start at all. But small amounts invested consistently will beat large amounts invested inconsistently every single time. If you can only afford to invest $25 per month right now, start with $25 per month. As your income increases, as you pay off debt, as you get better at managing money, you can increase that amount. But the most important thing is to start. Here's why this works psychologically. When you start small, you build the habit without overwhelming yourself. You prove to yourself that you can stick to the plan. And once you see your account balances starting to grow, even slowly, it becomes motivating. You start to see money as something that works for you instead of something that's always stressing you out. Let me give you a concrete example of how this might look. Month 1, set up automatic transfer of $50 per month to a high-yield savings account. Month 2, open a Roth IRA and set up automatic investment of $25 per month into a target date fund. Month 3, increase your 401k contribution by 1% of your salary. Month 4, set up auto bill pay for all your regular bills. Month 5, increase your Roth IRA contribution to $50 per month. Month 6, look at your expenses and find one thing you can cut to redirect that money to investments. Notice that none of these steps are overwhelming by themselves, but after 6 months, you've completely transformed your financial system. You're saving money automatically, investing for retirement automatically, and you've built momentum to keep improving. Here's something else that's crucial to understand. Your income is your biggest wealth building tool. Most personal finance advice focuses on cutting expenses, but there's a limit to how much you can cut. There's no limit to how much you can earn. Sethi argues that once you have your basic financial system set up, you should focus heavily on increasing your income. This might mean negotiating your salary, developing new skills that make you more valuable, starting a side business, or changing careers entirely. A $5,000 raise has more impact on your financial future than clipping coupons for the rest of your life. And here's the thing about income increases. They compound just like investments do. If you get a $5,000 raise this year and invest that extra money, you're not just $5,000 richer. Over a 30-year career, that $5,000 raise could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional wealth. Let's talk about some common mistakes that derail people's financial progress. Mistake number 1, trying to time the market. People think they should wait to invest until the market is low, or they want to sell when they think the market is high. The problem is nobody can consistently predict what the market will do. Even professional investors get this wrong most of the time. The better approach is to invest consistently regardless of what the market is doing. Some months you'll buy when the market is high, some months when it's low, but over time it averages out. Mistake number 2, investing in individual stocks instead of diversified index funds. Picking individual stocks feels exciting, but it's basically gambling unless you're willing to spend huge amounts of time researching companies. Even then, most professional stock pickers don't beat the market over long periods.
If you're ready to stop stressing about money and start living your rich life, hit that subscribe button and let's build your money systems together, one smart move at a time.